Marcus worked in a small car repair shop at the edge of the city. The shop was not fancy, but it was full of tools, engines, and old car parts stacked neatly on shelves. Marcus loved his work. From a young age, he had been fascinated by cars. He could spend hours taking apart engines, figuring out how each piece worked and then putting them back together perfectly. People in the neighborhood trusted him because he was skilled, careful, and honest. Every day, Marcus arrived early. He swept the floor, arranged his tools, and made sure the shop was ready before any customer came in. Most of his clients were regulars who liked his calm and friendly attitude. They knew that if Marcus worked on a car, it would run smoothly for years. He didn't care about money as much as he cared about doing the job right. One bright afternoon, Marcus heard the sound of a car engine that was different from the usual ones. He looked up and saw a sleek black car pulling into the shop. The car shone in the sunlight, and it looked expensive. A woman stepped out. She was dressed in a sharp suit, wearing sunglasses that reflected the street. Marcus noticed her confident walk and the way she held herself. She looked like someone who was used to getting what she wanted. Her name was Clara. She was the CEO of a large tech company. Clara was known for her strong personality and her bold decisions. People respected her in the business world, but she also liked to test people and see how they reacted under pressure. Marcus could tell that she wasn't here to chat. She had a purpose. "I've heard you are the best mechanic in the city," Clara said, her voice carrying a playful tone. There was a hint of challenge in her eyes. "This engine of mine has been giving trouble for weeks. If you can fix it today, I might reward you, maybe even something special." She smirked slightly and added, "Perhaps I'll marry you if you manage to do it." Marcus looked at her calmly. He didn't laugh and he didn't get angry. He knew some people said things to see how others would react. He simply nodded. "I'll take a look," he said. Clara raised an eyebrow but didn't say anything else. She followed Marcus to the car and watched as he opened the hood. The engine inside was complicated. It was clear that it had been through several attempts at repair, some done poorly. Marcus inspected every part carefully. He listened to the engine, turned it gently with his hands, and noticed the small problems that others had missed. Clara watched him work. At first she thought she had made a joke, but she quickly realized that Marcus was serious. His hands moved with confidence, and his eyes carefully studied every detail. She could see his dedication. It was not easy to watch someone be this calm while handling such a difficult task. Clara had always been used to seeing people rush and fail. Marcus was different. Hours passed. The shop was quiet except for the soft sounds of tools and the occasional hum of the engine as Marcus tested it. Clara tapped her foot impatiently, sometimes checking her phone, sometimes leaning against the car with a small smile. She was curious. Was he really going to fix it? She had not expected someone to take her words seriously. Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead but kept working. He tightened bolts, cleaned parts, and carefully adjusted the engine. Each step was done with precision. He didn't rush. He didn't complain. Clara began to realize that this was not just skill. It was patience, determination, and pride in work. She had thrown a challenge at him, thinking it would be impossible, but Marcus was proving her wrong. By late afternoon, Marcus stepped back from the car. He wiped his hands on a rag and said quietly, "It's ready." Clara looked at him in surprise. She had not expected him to finish so confidently. Marcus smiled faintly and gestured toward the engine. "You can start it now." As she turned the key, the engine roared to life, smooth and strong. Clara's eyes widened. She had not expected such perfection. Marcus's calm and skill had transformed the car completely. She had come to the shop to challenge him, but now she could only watch in astonishment. Clara felt a strange mix of respect and curiosity. Marcus had done something she had not expected. He had taken her mocking words and turned them into proof of his talent. She realized she had underestimated him, and Marcus, quietly confident, had shown that skill and determination were more powerful than words or wealth. Clara could hardly believe her eyes. The engine purred smoothly, as if it had never had a single problem. Marcus stood beside the car, calm and composed, wiping his hands on a clean rag. His expression was quiet, almost modest, but there was a glint of pride in his eyes. Clara felt something unfamiliar, a mix of admiration and surprise. She had not expected anyone to fix the engine so perfectly. You really did it," Clara said, her voice a little softer now. Her smirk from earlier had disappeared, replaced by genuine curiosity. I didn't think it was possible. Marcus smiled politely. Every engine has a problem that can be solved, he said simply. You just have to look carefully and be patient. Clara leaned against her car, crossing her arms, and watched him closely. She realized that she had been too quick to judge him. At first, she had only seen a mechanic in a small shop, someone she thought she could challenge with a playful, mocking remark. But Marcus was not someone who could be mocked or rushed. He worked steadily with focus and skill, and the results spoke for themselves. You work differently from everyone I've met, Clara admitted. Most people would have panicked or given up. But you stayed calm. You didn't let me or this engine distract you, Marcus nodded. Focus is important. It helps to know that the job matters more than what anyone says about it. Clara's eyes softened. She had grown up in a world where appearances and power mattered. People often judged her by her title, and she judged others in the same way. But here was Marcus, a man who cared more about doing the work correctly than showing off or proving himself. That was rare, and she found it impressive. You know, Clara said, leaning closer, I don't usually say this, but I respect that. You could have been angry when I made that joke about marriage, but you didn't. You just focused on the engine. Marcus shrugged slightly. I don't take challenges personally. I take them as a chance to do my best. Clara studied him for a moment, noticing how his hands moved with confidence and care, how his eyes scanned every part of the engine, and how his calm voice carried authority without arrogance. She realized that his talent was more than mechanical skill. It was patience, intelligence, and character combined. Would you like to work with me? Clara asked suddenly. Her tone was serious now. I have a fleet of cars and they need someone who understands them deeply. I think you could help me manage them. I can pay well, much more than your shop makes in a month. Marcus paused. He thought about the offer. His shop was small, but it was his own. He liked the quiet rhythm of his work there. But he also felt that this opportunity could open doors he had never imagined. It was a chance to test himself in a new way, to learn from someone with experience in a different world. I'll think about it, he said finally, smiling politely. I like working on engines and I like doing a good job wherever I am. We can talk more later. Clara nodded. She didn't press further. Instead, she walked around the car, running her hand along the smooth surface. She realized that the car looked better than it had in months, almost like new. Marcus had transformed it completely, and she could see the difference immediately. As they stood together, a quiet moment passed. Neither spoke at first, but both felt the unspoken respect growing between them. Clara had tested Marcus with a playful challenge, but he had responded with patience and skill. She realized that respect was earned, not demanded, and Marcus had earned hers in every way possible. The sun began to lower in the sky, casting a warm light over the shop. Clara glanced at Marcus again and felt a strange curiosity about him, a sense that there was more to this man than she had first imagined. Marcus, in turn, felt a quiet confidence in himself. He had proven his skill, yes, but he had also proven that focus, patience, and determination could overcome doubt and arrogance. Finally, Clara straightened up. You've done more than just fix my car today, she said, smiling faintly. You've shown me something important, too. I didn't expect that, Marcus nodded. Sometimes the lessons come from unexpected places. With that, Clara left the shop, but her mind stayed with the mechanic who had surprised her. Marcus returned to his workbench, already thinking about the next engine, the next challenge. Neither of them realized it yet, but their paths had crossed in a way that would change both of their lives. That day marked the beginning of something new, something built on respect, skill, and the unexpected connection between a CEO and a mechanic. The next morning, Marcus arrived at his small shop as usual. The sunlight streamed through the windows, highlighting the rows of engines and tools neatly arranged on the benches. He was used to the quiet rhythm of his work, but today something felt different. The memory of Clara and her sleek black car lingered in his mind. By mid-morning, the shop bell rang. Marcus looked up and saw Clara walking in. She was dressed in business casual today, but there was still an air of authority in the way she carried herself. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity as she looked around the shop. I thought I'd check in on the car, Clara said, smiling lightly, and maybe see the mechanic who fixed it so well yesterday. Marcus nodded politely. The engine is running perfectly. You shouldn't have any problems. Clara moved closer to the car and ran her hand along the hood. It really does feel like a new car. I don't know how you did it. I've had several mechanics try before, and none of them even came close. Marcus shrugged, modest but confident. It's all about understanding the engine. Every part has a role and every problem has a solution. You just have to find it. Clara leaned against the car, her arms crossed, watching him as he spoke. She realized that Marcus's approach was different from anyone she had met. Most people rushed or tried to impress. Marcus focused only on the task in front of him. That calm attention to detail fascinated her. I have to admit something, Clara said, her voice quieter than before. I mocked you yesterday. I thought I could make a joke and see how you reacted. But I didn't expect this. I didn't expect you to be so skilled, so patient, and so confident. Marcus looked at her calmly. People often underestimate others because of appearances or first impressions. I focus on what I can control. That is my work, Clara smiled softly. She realized she had learned a lesson about humility in just one day. Marcus had shown her that talent, patience, and integrity were more important than status, money, or jokes. She felt a growing respect for him, not just as a mechanic but as a person. I was thinking, Clara said, taking a step closer. I want you to consider working with me. My company has a fleet of cars and we have several projects that need attention. I need someone who knows engines, someone who doesn't give up, someone like you. Marcus considered the offer. He liked his shop, the quiet routine, and the independence of working for himself. But this was different. This was an opportunity to challenge himself in ways he had never imagined. To work on bigger projects, to learn from someone who had experience in the business world. I'll think about it, Marcus said finally, with a small, polite smile. I like doing a good job wherever I am. If it seems right, I'll join you. But I want to make sure I can give my best. Clara nodded. She didn't push him. She understood that Marcus valued his work and his principles more than anything else. That was exactly why she admired him. They spent the next few hours together talking about engines, cars, and the work that needed to be done. Clara asked questions, curious to understand the details. Marcus explained patiently, never rushing or showing frustration. He spoke in a calm, clear way, making complicated problems easy to understand. Clara realized she could learn from him, just as much as he might learn from her. At one point, Clara leaned against the car again, watching him adjust a part of the engine. You know, she said softly, I never expected to meet someone like you in a small shop like this. You have skill, patience, and integrity. Those are qualities I admire more than anything. Marcus looked up, meeting her gaze. I appreciate that, he said quietly. I believe in doing my best no matter where I am. That is all anyone can ask of themselves. For a moment, the shop was quiet except for the soft sounds of the engine as Marcus tested it. There was a sense of understanding between them, unspoken but clear. Clara had come in with a mocking challenge, but Marcus had responded with skill and respect. It was a lesson she would not forget. By the time Clara left the shop, the sun was high in the sky. She glanced back at Marcus, feeling a mixture of admiration and curiosity. Marcus returned to his workbench, already planning the tasks ahead. Neither of them knew it yet, but this meeting was the beginning of something much bigger than engines, cars, or even business. It was the start of a connection built on respect, trust, and the unexpected bond between a CEO and a mechanic who refused to be underestimated. A few days after the first meeting, Marcus arrived at his shop early as usual. The morning sunlight filled the space, highlighting the rows of tools and engines. He was focused on a routine repair when the shop bell rang. Looking up, he saw Clara walking in again. She was smiling, carrying a folder in her hands. Good morning, Marcus, she said warmly. I hope I'm not disturbing you. Marcus shook his head. Not at all. How is the car running? Clara glanced at her sleek black car parked nearby. It's perfect, she said. You did an amazing job. I wanted to thank you again and talk about something else. Marcus raised an eyebrow, curious. Go ahead, he said. Clara walked closer and set the folder on the counter. I want you to consider joining my company. We have many cars to maintain and several projects that require someone with your skills. I can pay well, and you will have access to better tools and resources than you have here. Marcus looked at her thoughtfully. The offer was tempting. He enjoyed his small shop, the quiet work, and the independence it gave him. But this opportunity could challenge him in new ways. He could learn, grow, and make a bigger impact. I'll need some time to think about it, he said finally. I like working where I can do my best. I want to make sure I can give the job the attention it deserves. Clara nodded, understanding. I respect that. I want someone who is committed and careful, not someone who rushes or only does work for money. I can see that you care about your work. That is why I asked to meet you. They spent the next few hours talking about cars, engines, and the kind of projects Clara's company managed. Marcus explained technical details patiently, showing his knowledge and experience. Clara listened closely, asking questions and taking notes. She realized that Marcus wasn't just a mechanic. He was thoughtful, disciplined, and deeply knowledgeable. You know, Clara said, pausing to watch Marcus adjust a complicated part of the engine. I was wrong about the way I acted the first day. I tried to make a joke at your expense, but you didn't react like I expected. You focused on the work and the results speak for themselves. I respect that more than I can say. Marcus smiled politely. Sometimes people judge too quickly. I believe everyone deserves respect until proven otherwise. I focus on what I can do, not on what others think. Clara nodded slowly. She realized that Marcus's calm confidence and skill had not only fixed her car, but had also taught her a lesson about humility and respect. She had spent her life surrounded by people who often agreed with her because of her position. But Marcus had shown her that real skill and character mattered far more than status. As the day passed, Clara and Marcus continued to work together, testing engines and discussing solutions. Clara noticed that Marcus's patience never wavered, even when the work became difficult. He took each problem seriously, analyzed it carefully, and found a solution. She admired his dedication and discipline. At one point, Clara leaned against the car, watching Marcus tighten a complicated engine part. I never thought I would meet someone like you, she said softly. You're not only skilled, but you're also calm and thoughtful. Those are rare qualities. Marcus looked up, meeting her gaze. I appreciate that. I believe in doing my best in every situation. That is all anyone can do. The moment was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of engines and the sounds of the workshop. Clara felt something unusual, a connection beyond work. She realized that respect and admiration could grow quickly when someone demonstrated honesty, skill, and patience. By the time Clara left the shop that evening, Marcus had returned to his workbench, already thinking about the next tasks. Clara drove away slowly, looking in her rearview mirror. She felt a mix of curiosity and respect for the mechanic who had changed her perspective in just a few days. Neither Marcus nor Clara realized it at the time, but this day marked the beginning of something important. A professional relationship was forming based on respect, understanding, and shared effort. What had started as a mocking challenge had grown into the first steps of a meaningful connection between a CEO and a humble mechanic, one that would soon affect both of their lives in ways they could never have imagined. In the weeks that followed, Marcus began working more closely with Clara's company. His mornings still started at his small shop, but afternoons were often spent at Clara's office or at the company garage, checking vehicles and discussing projects. At first, Marcus felt a little out of place among the sleek offices and polished cars, but he quickly realized that his skill and dedication earned respect from everyone around him. Clara watched him carefully during these first days. She noticed the way Marcus treated every car, every part with the same care and attention. He never rushed, never complained, and always explained clearly what he was doing. Employees who had been working with Clara for years started to admire him. They could see that Marcus's approach brought better results, and many began asking him for advice. One afternoon, Clara and Marcus were testing a new car that was part of a company project. Marcus was under the hood checking the engine, while Clara observed from the side. She asked questions, genuinely curious to understand the technical details. Marcus explained patiently, showing how each component worked and how to improve performance. You make it sound so simple, Clara said with a smile. I used to think engines were just complicated machines, but you explain it in a way anyone can understand. Marcus looked up, smiling faintly. Engines are complicated, yes, but they follow logic. Once you understand how each part works, it becomes easier to solve problems. Clara nodded thoughtfully. She realized that Marcus was not just talented, he had a gift for teaching and inspiring confidence in others. His patience and clear explanations made everyone feel capable, even those who had never worked with engines before. Over time, Clara and Marcus spent more hours together, solving problems and improving the company's fleet. During these long days, Clara began to understand Marcus as a person, not just a mechanic. She admired his honesty, his dedication, and his calm nature. He never bragged, never complained, and never tried to impress anyone. He simply did his work and did it well. One evening, after a long day of testing vehicles, Clara invited Marcus to sit in the office with her. "I wanted to thank you for everything you've done these past weeks," she said sincerely. "The company runs more smoothly because of your skills, your patience, and the way you approach problems. You've taught me a lot without even trying." Marcus smiled, feeling a quiet sense of pride. "I only do what I can. I try to help where I'm needed and solve problems as best as I can." Clara leaned back in her chair thinking. She had always relied on her own instincts and skills to succeed, but Marcus had reminded her of the importance of teamwork, patience, and humility. She realized that working with someone like him brought out the best in everyone, including herself. Over the next few days, the friendship between Marcus and Clara grew naturally. They shared ideas, discussed challenges, and even laughed together over small mistakes or miscommunications. Their connection was not forced, it was built on mutual respect and understanding. One afternoon, as they worked on a new project, Clara looked at Marcus and said softly, "I never thought I would find someone whose patience and calm can influence others so much. You make everyone around you better." Marcus paused, considering her words. "It is not about influence. It is about doing your best and helping where you can. People notice that and respect grows naturally." Clara smiled. She realized that Marcus was teaching her as much about life as he was about engines. He was showing her the value of focus, humility, and dedication. It was clear to her that this was more than a professional relationship. It was a friendship built on mutual admiration and trust. By the end of the week, Clara had made a decision. She wanted Marcus to continue working with her, not only because of his skills, but because of the way he inspired those around him. And Marcus, in turn, began to see that this new environment offered him opportunities he had never imagined. Opportunities to grow, to teach, and to make a difference. Together, they had become a strong team. Marcus's steady skill and calm nature complemented Clara's bold ideas and leadership. Their collaboration was making the company stronger, and quietly their friendship was becoming something neither of them had expected. The days of doubt and mockery were far behind them now. What had started with a challenging remark in a car engine had grown into trust, teamwork, and the beginning of a meaningful connection. It had been several weeks since Marcus started working with Clara's company. Each day brought new challenges, and each day Marcus proved himself to be calm, skilled, and dependable. Clara admired his dedication, but she also found herself noticing other qualities she had not expected. His patience, his ability to stay focused under pressure, and his quiet confidence were unlike anything she had encountered in her business world. One late afternoon, after a long day of testing new vehicles, Clara invited Marcus to her office. The office was sleek and modern, with large windows that looked out over the city. Clara gestured toward a chair. "Sit, Marcus. I want to talk with you." Marcus nodded and sat down, setting his cap on the table. Clara studied him carefully, thinking about their first encounter in the small garage. She remembered how she had mocked him, how she had challenged him with words she now regretted, but he had never reacted angrily or defensively. He had only focused on the task at hand and succeeded. "I need to apologize for how I acted the first day," Clara said quietly. "I shouldn't have made that joke about marriage. It was wrong and disrespectful. I see that now. You handled it with more grace than I expected." Marcus looked at her, his expression calm. "It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is how we move forward and what we learn from them." Clara felt a warmth in her chest. She realized that Marcus was not only a skilled mechanic, but also a wise and thoughtful person. He had a way of seeing things clearly, of treating people with respect without expecting anything in return. She admired him for that. "I've learned a lot from you over these weeks," Clara admitted. "Not just about cars or engines, but about patience, focus, and humility. You remind me that respect and skill are more important than status or power." Marcus smiled faintly. "I'm glad. That is how I see life. We work with what we have and we do our best. That is all anyone can do." Clara leaned back in her chair, thinking. She realized that Marcus had changed the way she looked at people and work. His example had reminded her of the value of quiet effort and steady determination. She felt grateful for that, but she also felt something new, an admiration that went beyond professional respect. "I enjoy working with you," Clara said finally, her voice soft. "I respect your talent and your character, and I think I've come to value your friendship more than I realized." Marcus looked at her, meeting her eyes. "I value our work together too, and I respect you for what you have built and for how you lead." For a few moments the office was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of the city outside. Both of them felt the unspoken connection growing between them. It was not about titles, money, or appearances. It was about respect, shared effort, and understanding. After that day, their collaboration became even stronger. Marcus worked closely with the team, guiding them with patience and knowledge, while Clara observed and learned how to encourage and support her employees in new ways. They became a team that inspired everyone around them. During breaks, they often talked about more than just work. Clara shared stories about her childhood and the challenges of leading a company, while Marcus spoke about his love for cars, his small shop, and the satisfaction of solving difficult problems. Their conversations were filled with honesty and laughter, and slowly, they began to understand each other as people, not just as CEO and mechanic. One evening, after finishing a long day of testing vehicles, Clara turned to Marcus and said, "I never expected to meet someone who could change the way I see things so much. You make me think differently and you make me want to be better." Marcus smiled quietly. That is the effect of good work and patience. When people see dedication, they notice it, and sometimes it inspires them. Clara laughed softly. "You inspire me, Marcus, more than you know." As the sun set, casting golden light across the garage, both of them felt that their connection had grown deeper. What began as a mocking challenge had transformed into respect, trust, and a genuine friendship. Neither could ignore the bond forming between them, one built on shared effort, admiration, and understanding. The days ahead promised new challenges, but Marcus and Clara knew they would face them together, as a team. And quietly in the back of their minds, both wondered if this connection might become something even more meaningful over time. Weeks had passed since Marcus had joined Clara's company, and their partnership had grown stronger with every project. They worked side by side, solving complex mechanical problems, testing vehicles, and improving the company's fleet. Marcus's calm, steady presence balanced Clara's bold, decisive energy, and together they created solutions no one else could. One busy afternoon, Clara called Marcus to a new challenge. A rare prototype car had arrived for testing, and the engine was behaving unpredictably. The company engineers had tried for days to fix it but failed. Marcus examined the car carefully, opening the hood and inspecting every component. Clara watched quietly, curious to see how he would handle the problem. "This is a difficult one," Marcus said, his voice calm. "But I think I can find the issue if we take it step by step." Clara nodded. "I trust you, Marcus. I know you can do it." Marcus smiled faintly. He appreciated her confidence, not just because it recognized his skill, but because it showed respect for his approach and judgment. He had faced challenging engines before, but this prototype was unlike any he had worked on. It would take patience, careful observation, and precise adjustments. As Marcus worked, Clara stayed nearby, asking questions and taking notes. She wanted to understand his method, not to interfere but to learn. Marcus explained each step clearly, showing how he identified the problem and how he planned to fix it. His explanations were simple yet thorough, making the complex engine understandable even to someone without mechanical experience. Hours passed, and the tension in the garage grew. The engineers had been frustrated, but Marcus's calm presence changed the atmosphere. Instead of stress and panic, there was focus and quiet determination. Clara realized that Marcus's patience had a way of influencing everyone around him. His confidence was not loud or demanding. It was steady and reassuring. Finally, Marcus finished his adjustments. He wiped his hands on a rag and said, "It should work now." Clara nodded, and together they started the engine. The car roared to life, smooth and strong, its performance perfect. The engineers cheered quietly, impressed by Marcus's skill. Clara couldn't hide her amazement. "You did it again," she said, smiling. "This engine was nearly impossible, and you fixed it without losing your cool." Marcus shrugged, modest but confident. "Every problem has a solution. You just have to take your time and pay attention." Clara laughed softly, feeling a mix of admiration and something she hadn't expected. Fondness. She realized she had come to trust Marcus deeply, not just for his skill but for his character. He was dependable, honest, and thoughtful in a way that made her feel at ease. Over the next few days, Clara and Marcus continued working closely, and their friendship grew stronger. They shared stories during breaks, laughed at small mistakes, and celebrated each success together. Clara found herself looking forward to their conversations, appreciating Marcus's calm wisdom and thoughtful perspective. One evening, as they wrapped up a long day, Clara turned to Marcus. "You know, I never expected to meet someone like you," she said quietly. "You've changed the way I see work, challenges, and even people. You make me think differently, Marcus. You make me want to be better." Marcus looked at her, meeting her gaze steadily. "I'm glad, Clara. That is the effect of dedication and focus. When people see effort, it inspires them, even if they don't realize it immediately." For a moment, they stood in silence, listening to the soft hum of the garage as the sun set outside. The connection between them had grown deeper over the weeks. It was no longer just respect or friendship. It was something more. A quiet understanding, a shared trust, and the possibility of something meaningful that neither had expected when they first met. Clara smiled softly. "I think we make a good team," she said. Marcus nodded. "Yes, we do. And I think we'll continue to solve any challenge together." That evening marked another turning point in their relationship. The challenges they faced in work had brought them closer, showing not only their skill and determination, but also their ability to understand and support each other. What began as a casual, mocking challenge had grown into a strong partnership built on respect, admiration, and trust. Both of them realized, though neither said it aloud yet, that their connection was no longer just professional. Something meaningful was quietly developing between them, a bond that would grow stronger as they faced the challenges ahead together. The following morning, Clara invited Marcus to her office. The sunlight streamed through the large windows, illuminating the modern furniture and sleek floors. She had been thinking for several days about how much Marcus had changed, not only her company but also her own perspective on life and work. She felt that it was time to acknowledge the respect, trust, and connection that had grown between them. Marcus entered, carrying his usual calm confidence. "Good morning, Clara," he said politely. "Good morning, Marcus," she replied, smiling warmly. "Please have a seat." Marcus sat, setting his cap carefully on the table. Clara looked at him, feeling both nervous and excited. This was not just a conversation about work. It was about everything that had grown between them over the past weeks. "I wanted to say something important," Clara began. "When I first met you, I thought I could test you with a challenge. I thought it would be fun to see if you could fix my engine. I didn't expect what happened next." Marcus nodded quietly. "And what happened?" he asked, his voice calm but interested. Clara took a deep breath. "You proved me wrong. Not just because you fixed the engine, but because of how you handled yourself. Your patience, your skill, your calmness, everything about you made me see things differently. You've taught me lessons I didn't know I needed." Marcus smiled softly. "I'm glad to have helped. That is what work and effort are about, helping where you can, solving problems, and doing your best." Clara's eyes softened. "You've helped me more than you know. I've learned to appreciate patience, to value quiet strength, and to respect people for who they are, not for appearances or titles. And I've realized something else." Marcus looked at her, waiting. Clara reached into a small drawer and pulled out an envelope. She handed it to Marcus. "Open it," she said with a gentle smile. Marcus took the envelope and carefully opened it. Inside was an invitation to a formal company celebration, but there was also a handwritten note. Marcus read it aloud quietly. "Marcus, over the past weeks, you have shown me skill, patience, and integrity. You have changed the way I see work, life, and respect. I value your presence, your wisdom, and your friendship more than I can express. I would be honored if you would celebrate this occasion with me as my partner, not only in work but in life." Marcus looked up at Clara, his eyes wide with surprise and warmth. "Clara, I don't know what to say," he said softly. "You don't have to say anything," Clara replied, smiling. "I just want you to know how much you mean to me. You've become more than a colleague. You've become someone I respect, admire, and care for deeply." Marcus felt a mixture of emotions, pride, gratitude, and something new he hadn't felt before. He realized that over the past weeks his admiration for Clara had grown too. She was strong, intelligent, and thoughtful, and she had also learned to respect and value him for who he truly was. "I accept," Marcus said finally, smiling warmly. "I am honored to celebrate with you and to continue this journey together." Clara's face lit up with joy. "I'm so glad, Marcus. This is the beginning of something wonderful, I think." From that day forward, Marcus and Clara became not only a team at work, but partners in life. Their story spread quietly among colleagues, not as gossip, but as inspiration. It was a story of skill, respect, patience, and the unexpected bond that can form when people see and value each other's true character. They continued to face challenges together, from complex engine problems to company projects, but now they did so as a united team, trusting and supporting each other. Marcus's calm wisdom and Clara's bold leadership complemented one another perfectly, creating a balance that inspired everyone around them. In time, their friendship grew deeper into a meaningful connection built on admiration, respect, and understanding. What began with a mocking challenge and a difficult engine had become a story of trust, partnership, and the power of seeing beyond first impressions. As they stood together at the company celebration that evening, looking out at the city lights, both Marcus and Clara knew that they had found something rare, a bond built on effort, honesty, and mutual respect. Their journey had started unexpectedly, but it had led to a partnership that was strong, inspiring, and full of promise for the future, and so, the mechanic and the CEO walked forward, side by side, ready to face any challenge together, with trust in each other and respect in their hearts.